thumb down now. Check. No drip this. Wet. Tell them run it up. No sleep, no rest. Might crash, might wreck. But first I stretch. Tell them run it up. I wake up. Flex. Thumb down now. Check. No drip this. Wet. Tell them run it up. No sleep, no rest. Might crash, might wreck. But first I stretch. Tell them run it up. 9 out of 10 roll through my hands. I'm by my lonely. Turn to a savage. Now my baby wants to hold me. I love my fans, don't need no friends, I got my homies. Thought I could trust you, I find out you tried to zone me. I'm number one up on that court, I'm Nick McGrady. The first one in, the last one out, can't call me lazy. Put in my hours, send the invoice and they pay me. I need 6 rings like MJ and Tom Brady. I wake up, flex, thumb down, that check, no drip.
LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Finally, show with the balls to call it like it is. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Countdown to audio torture.
The Rated R Safety Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Let the eardrum pain begin.
Forget the corporate bullshit. This is the Rated R Safety Show with your host, Dr. It doesn't matter who the host is.
Well, you know that is so true. It does not matter who the host is because today is Tuesday, March the 8th of 2022, day 67th of the year, and only 298 days left to go. Anyways, I hope everything is good and grand inside of your neck of the woods as we are hanging out on this lovely Tuesday. Did you do anything cool? Did you do anything fun? Did you enjoy your time during the overnight? You know, that's always the question to ask. Anyways, we are broadcasting live from the Safety FM studios in Orlando, Florida, and coming across the multiverse known as Safety FM. And then we are, of course, hanging out with our friends and colleagues at that other place that we do stuff at.
Radio Big.
So we are also hanging out at RadioBig.fm. Now, I think it's kind of funny because I probably haven't talked too much about this. So let's talk about this for just a brief moment because, you will tell me what you want. By the way, if you want to interact with the show, callinradio.com. That's the simplest way to do it. But let me kind of go back to what I was saying here. So as you know that the stations that we are currently on, Safety FM and Radio Big, are essentially both, we'll say, uncensored channels. So if you go over there, take a listen, we kind of get away with everything that we can. Now, if we did have an option of let's say a third channel that we participated on, but they didn't want us to be so, we'll say, uncensory, we'll say not so edgy. And we'll say, what if it was more similar to a rated R movie that had the censoring so it became PG-13? Is that something that you'd be interested in? Would a PG-13 option be something of interest? TV-14, if one may do so. So that becomes a weird question, if that became an option, if that was something that was on the table. Maybe it is. Maybe it's something we should talk about. I'm not sure. Anyway, so let's start talking right away because it's Tuesday. So you know that at the very beginning of this thing on Tuesdays, we start talking immediately what's going on inside of the music chart. So why do anything different? So let's talk about it right away. At the number 5 spot, according to iTunes, was Cody Johnson with Till You Can't Get. At number 4 was Encanto soundtrack, We Don't Talk About Bruno. At number 3 was Kane Brown with Leave You Alone. At number 2 was Elton John and Dua Lipa with Cold Heart, the remix version. And then at number 1 was Camila Cabello with Bam Bam featuring Ed Sheeran. According to Spotify, if you go to the other side, here's what we had. Number 5 was Lil Nas X with That's What I Want at number 5. At number 4 was Ed Sheeran with Shivers. At number 3 was Dove Cameron with Boyfriend. At number 2 was Justin Bieber with Ghost. And then at number 1 spot was Glass Animals with Heat Wave. So there you go. That was what was going on with the charts. Let's talk about what was trending in the overnight, because that's the other portion that we like to discuss. In honor of National Cereal Day, social media users shared their favorite cereal to chow down for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Another hashtag that was hitting the whole thing was Under Trump was trending on Monday. Tweets were a mixture of pro-Trump and anti-Trump messages. Some tweeted about cheaper gas under 45, while others claimed that we were the laughing stock of the world. Now, just in case if you're lost in the 45 thing, that would be the number of the president that Donald Trump was. So something to do there. So there you go. Also, chromatic ball was landed on Twitter's top 10 trends yesterday. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then Fleetwood Mac fans reacted to the British musician Mick Fleetwood being named the new face of Harry Styles' brand. Pleasing? I don't know. So that's going to be something to talk about. So a lot of stuff going on as we are talking and moving and grooving and all of that stuff there. So in case you don't know, we talk about news and safety in the news and all that kind of fun stuff. So we got a lot of stuff going on this morning as we are hanging out and doing the things that we do. So let's get our friends in here for them to tell us about what's going on inside of the world of the news, and then we'll take a pounder and a gounder of everything else that is circulating inside of the segs, because that's always important. So let's do that right now from the very top of the whole thing, and let's get you into the news.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
NBC News Radio, I'm Michael Kastner. A humanitarian crisis is unfolding across Eastern Europe as nearly 2 million people have fled Ukraine in the 13 days since Russian forces invaded. NBC's Jay Gray.
UNICEF saying 1 million of those refugees are children.
I hear a loud voice from bombs.
Rushing from her home during intense shelling.
I don't know where my friends now.
10-year-old Anna Maria left her friends, toys, and life in Kharkiv.
A third round of peace talks failed to bring the conflict to a halt yesterday as Russian forces continue to advance on major Ukrainian cities. A bipartisan group of lawmakers here in the U.S. says a deal has been reached to pass legislation banning the import of energy products from Russia. In response, Russia, the world's second largest oil exporter, is warning that the price of oil could spike to $300 a barrel should such a ban be enacted. No relief in sight at the pump. Drivers are waking up to the highest gas prices ever. AAA puts today's new average at $4.17 a gallon, up 10 cents just from yesterday. Axios is reporting that President Biden's advisors are discussing a possible trip to Saudi Arabia to help repair relations and convince them to pump more oil. Mike Bauer reports.
The last time I put gas in my car, when it got to $40, I quit, and it still wasn't full.
Gas prices are on the rise worldwide, and a hat-in-hand trip to Saudi Arabia by President Biden would illustrate the gravity of the global energy crisis, driven by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Biden has chastised Saudi Arabia. The CIA believes its de facto leader, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, was involved in the dismemberment of Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi. The possibility also shows how Russia's invasion is scrambling the world's alliances, forcing the U.S. to reorder its priorities.
Michael Kastner, NBC News Radio.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Chris Jones. Ukraine says Russian forces are still preventing civilians from fleeing major cities under siege. The United Nations has again asked Russia to allow aid workers through to help those caught up in the fighting. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will make an historic address to the House of Commons in the UK later, and the Japanese government is set to impose further sanctions on Russia and Belarus over the invasion of Ukraine.
bringing you information you never knew you cared about. Rated R Safety Show.
Trial begins today in a plot to kidnap and kill the governor of Michigan. 4 men are accused of planning to grab Gretchen Whitmer in 2020 because they were angry with her COVID policies. 2 other men arrested have pleaded guilty and will testify. Apple is expected to announce a new low-cost iPhone model at a media event set for today. Tech giant will stream the launch event on YouTube and the company's website starting at 10 a.m. Pacific time. There's been a lot of speculation that Apple will announce a mid-range iPad as part of the event. The iPhone SE is the company's current low-cost model that retails for $399. The latest version of the iPhone software, with features such as the ability to use facial recognition while wearing a mask to unlock the phone, may also be rolled out. A man who was once forced to dig his own grave during the Holocaust is celebrating his 100th birthday today. Trey Thomas with more.
Nat Ross tells Tampa's WTVT he never thought he would live to be 100. Ross was one of millions of Polish Jews that Adolf Hitler planned to murder during his final solution. After being caught sneaking in potatoes for nourishment, Ross was forced to dig his own grave. He and his wife Celia have been married for 70 years now. They have kids, grandkids, and great-grands to carry on his story.
Americans have a lower IQ thanks to years of leaded gasoline. Mark Mayfield with the story.
A new study published in the journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences finds that about half of Americans have lost IQ points because of exposure to the fumes. The study looked at Americans born before 1996, the year leaded gas was banned in this country. People born in the 60s and 70s, when use was very prevalent, were estimated to have lost about 6 or 7 IQ points.
And on Wall Street before the opening bell, stock futures are on the rise after the S&P 500's worst day since October 2020. Michael Kastner, NBC News Radio.
This show is almost as enjoyable as hearing the sound of the toilet flush. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Hey, are you tired of hanging around and talking about safety in a boring kind of format? Well, I got something for you. If you haven't hung out with us yet at safetyfm.com, I'm going to encourage you to do so. Yeah, if you come out to Safety FM, you can come hang out with all kinds of safety professionals. Some are safety professionals, some are just people that are talking about safety. But we want to do it in a format that makes it fun and entertaining. If you're kind of trying to figure out what the FM portion is, well, we're a radio station and also a podcast network. You can come out, hang out, and listen to my show, The Jay Allen Show. You can listen to Todd Conklin with the pre-accident investigation, Blaine J. Hoffman with the Safety Pro, the Hop Nerd, Sam Goodman, just to name a few on what can be found on the station. Different things for different people, trying to bring safety in an entertaining form. SafetyFM.com. Go to the website, download the app, and carry it with you all day long. SafetyFM.com. We'll be waiting for you.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. Look at this little face. How could you not love him?
Hamilton the Pug, Instagram star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
You make sure his toys don't have any sharp edges. You taught her what to do when the smoke alarm goes off. You do so much to keep your child safe. But are you using the right car seat for your child? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Protect your child's future at every stage of life. For information on the right seat for your child, visit safercar.gov/the right seat.
A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
So you see, son, good manners are important. Should I go through it again?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Always say please, thank you, you're welcome, and excuse me. Sit up straight, hold doors open. Don't speak with your mouth full. Keep your elbows off the table. Share your things, play nice, and generally treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Got it?
Got it.
And stop picking your nose.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. Visit 2min2x.org to find out more. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
I'm a retired school psychologist, and helping people was my thing. After my stroke, when Meals on Wheels started, I was on the other end of the stick, so to speak. My name is Julius Gaines, creative writer, poet, photographer.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
It's a new year, but it's feeling harder than ever to find and hire qualified people you need, especially for small businesses. That's where LinkedIn Job comes in. They make it easier to find people you want to talk to faster and for free. You can create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 770 million people. Focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience and use screening questions to get your role in front of the most qualified people. Then use the simple tools on LinkedIn Jobs to quickly filter and prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number 1 in delivering qualified hires versus leading competitors. I have to tell you that we have used LinkedIn Jobs to even find some of the people that we have here at Safety FM. LinkedIn Jobs can help you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know that every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your jobs for free on linkedin.com/safetyfm. That's linkedin.com/safetyfm to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. And don't forget to tell them that you heard it right here on Safety FM.
Listen to our host
of the Rated R Safety Show.
self-implode on our airwaves, only on Safety FM.
Okay, so there you go. 16 minutes past the top of the hour as you and I are hanging out on this lovely Tuesday. So let's get into it because you heard some stuff. So let's hear some stuff and let's talk about some other stuff all mixed together. Anyways, Reuters reports that a spokesperson for the Russian government has outlined its 4 demands to cease war efforts against Ukraine. So here we go, taking it from the top to the bottom to the top. Here we go. Ukraine would amend the Constitution to formally take the neutral stance towards European Union or NATO membership. Ukraine has already submitted the desire to join the EU, and several countries has opposed. Then the next of surrender the claim to Crimea. Surrender Donetsk and Luhansk, the eastern cities Putin declared independent states just hours before activating the military operation into the Ukraine. And then the last but not least would be to end military operation, setting up a standoff situation. So I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that the demands are too high for the price? Or the price is too high for the demands? I don't know. It's something to think about. So meanwhile, in some other news, vodka brand, I'm sure I'm going to butcher this, Stolishashnaya, yeah, it sounds like it, is changing its name, sort of. They will just be Stoli vodka from now on. In a statement, the owner says that he is excited for he was exiled from Russia, not excited, in 2000 because he opposed Vladimir Putin's rise to power and remains opposed to the regime. More than anything, I wish more that Stoli to represent a peace in Europe in solidarity with Ukraine, he said. So there you go. So I mean, if you are, depending on where you're located, you have already heard that the potato water is getting dumped out or thrown out from most places if you are a Russian imported brand, or they're just stopping to carry you. So some things to think about because, you know, that's how the world goes from time to time. So if you are having one of those names, I just kind of wonder if that's actually one of those situations where things will change for you. The other portion that I think about all the time is that I talk to people from time to time that it seems like they're hesitant to say where they're from, especially if they're from those areas that things are occurring. And I don't get it, but hey, I guess that's just kind of the way that life goes from time to time. No, seriously.
You are listening to something magical. You're listening to the Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, so Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau flew to England to meet with his British counterpart Boris Johnson on Monday. Trudeau reportedly had to take an alternative route of Downing Street because so many people were in front to protest his visit on account of his crackdowns on the freedom protests. So here you go, worth remembering. The UK has ended virtually all COVID mitigation gun mandates. Meanwhile, in Canada, trucker convoy organizers Tamara Litch has been released after a high court judge let her go. Litch was released on the condition that she would not participate in any COVID protests within Canada or disparaging Trudeau COVID policies. This is what not having the First Amendment looks like. So let's talk about this. So, I mean, you are aware here that we get away with saying a lot of things in this glorious country if you are located in the United States, where if you say, hey, I don't like something, you're okay with saying it, and then you move forward. So when you're in a country that you're unable to do that, well, you get arrested for stuff and say, hey, you can't say what you don't like because it is not acceptable. I mean, think about it, depending on where you hung out and where you stand. Some people did not like 45. And some people complained all the time about 45. Now, some people don't like 46. And we're talking about presidential numbers just in case. And so some people really complained about 46. So there is a mixed bags of things that we can get away with here. So imagine that. All of a sudden, you don't like something, you say something, and now all of a sudden you're in the pokey. I don't think that that's something you really wanted to take the risk on. I mean, just something to talk about. Anyway, so let's continue. Elon Musk wants to promote nuclear energy. Yeah, this is not a joke. To show it's safe, he says on Twitter that he'll go to any nuclear power plant and eat a meal made with food grown right next to the door of the reactor on live TV to make a point. Meanwhile, in the last week, gas prices jumped on average nationally at 49.1 cents. The record increases in 13 states have recorded the highest prices, and 21 states are averaging over $4 a gallon. Worth noting, just to point out the editorial insecurities, oil accounts for a tiny fraction of how Americans consume energy. Excluding cars, expanding nuclear energy wouldn't ease America's need for oil to power cars, but it's still a good idea. So, something to talk about there. So here's my question to you, because I mean, it's something to think about for sure. Do you think with the price of oil increasing, and I know some people are not going to like this question, do you think that this will change the way the car manufacturers look at electric cars? I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of already car manufacturers that have a trajectory of actually releasing electric cars quicker. Do you think that this will change their point on doing them even quicker than that? I don't know. It is some strange times when it comes to oil. And it's just that lovely thing of supply and demand on how things work. And of course, with there being a war that's going on. So just some stuff to think about. Anyways, before I get into some hoopla and getting in all kinds of trouble based on what people want and do not want to hear, let's bring in some Johnny Smalls right now. And I think that we should probably go ahead and do what's going on inside of the Market Beat.
Here's your Market Beat Minute for Tuesday, March 8th, 2022. Equity started the week falling nearly 3% to the lowest levels in over 2 weeks as fighting in Ukraine intensifies. The economic fallout from Russia's offensive also grows on a daily basis, with the price of gold and oil rising in the face of a strengthening dollar. The price of WTI rose more than 6% intraday on Monday to hit the $130 level, and we think it will move even higher. The biggest risk this week, however, is on Thursday with the CPI data. The CPI is expected to accelerate to 0.7% month over month and to 7.8% year over year. And there is a risk both figures could be hotter than expected. Regardless, with oil prices near record highs, there's no reason to think inflation will slow, and every reason to believe an economic slowdown is at hand. You can get the inside track from Wall Street's brightest minds delivered directly to your inbox at marketbeatminute.com.
Okay, thank you, Johnny Smalls, for that one, letting us know that. So as you know, the Dow got walloped on Monday, losing 797 points as America braces for oil prices that could exceed $200 a barrel in the coming months for some estimates. Oil currently is trading about at $120 range, give or take. So keep that in mind as we are talking. Anyway, space lasers, a new theory that humans could study the universe by propelling tiny instruments through using laser technology way faster than booster rockets allow. With some improvements of the existing technology, they say that you could send a device the size of a cell phone at the speed of 20% up to the speed of light. So could you imagine that? Oh boy, would that be some fun times in regards of it. Anyways, it is currently 24 minutes past the top of the hour as you and I are hanging and banging and doing the things that we get to do here. So let's talk some more real quick. An Austin, Texas area cinema had to dispatch animal control to the showing of The Batman after one attendee released an actual bat in the theater. No reports yet of bites or anything too traumatizing happening to the other guests. Reps at the theater are saying that they'll be increasing security checks. So how the hell does this happen? Some dude thinks or some gal thinks that it's a great idea to go see The Batman, which, I mean, let's be realistic. If you have seen it, it's not a bad movie. It's a really good movie. And I think that it would be a joyful moment to release a bat during The Batman. I mean, I have a kind of a few weird questions here. How the hell did you get a hold of a bat? That's number one. And then number two, how the hell did you get it into the theater without anybody really noticing? Like, where did you have this thing packed? Like, were you wearing a coat? I have some questions that I need to understand. And then at what point during the movie do you say, it might be a good time to release a bat and then see what the hell happens? And then who spotted the thing? Because, if you have seen The Batman, meaning the movie, it is a pretty dark movie. So how the hell did somebody realize that there was one flying around? And so at what point do you dispatch? Too many questions, not enough answers, like always.
Oops! What did he just say?
We at Safety FM don't always agree with the viewpoints of our hosts and guests.
Now back to real safety talk on Safety FM.
Okay, so let's talk about it, because apparently this will be the popular story. White House, plenty of places for oil to drill. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki says that there are plenty of places for companies to drill for oil. Mike Bauer reports.
I would suggest you ask the oil companies why they're not using those if there's a desire to drill more.
In 2020, the price of oil crashed. Traders actually had to pay buyers to get them to take oil contracts off their hands. So, U.S. producers curtailed production a lot. U.S. oil production is still about 12% less than it was pre-pandemic and isn't projected to get back to pre-pandemic levels until next year. While demand, by contrast, has rebounded to pre-pandemic levels. Investor pressure helped stall a rebound in production and continues to do so. Investors insisting that oil companies spend their money on dividends and stock buybacks instead of any kind of new drilling. I'm Mike Bauer.
Okay, so there you go. Supply and demand. Then all of a sudden you have an issue of the issues, and then you sit back and go, how the hell are we going to fix it? Because that's really what it boils down to. I mean, let's just be realistic. What else? I mean, how else would you deem this? So what's your thoughts on this? In the area that you're located, do you get out a lot, and are you already paying for it at the pump? Some things to think about. So some other things, let's talk about this. Walensky predicts that COVID will be seasonal. The director of the CDC is predicting that people will have to deal with coronavirus on an annual basis. Listen to what Trey Thomas has to say.
Speaking to NBC News, Dr. Rochelle Walensky said COVID-19 is probably going to be a seasonal virus, but she's optimistic about where we are today.
We certainly have a lot of immunity in the population, more and more people getting vaccinated, more and more people getting boosted. We have some immunity from prior infection.
Her remarks come as the agency said 90% of the country can stop wearing face masks as cases continue to trend downward. I'm Trey Thomas.
Okay, thank you, Trey, for that one, letting us know what is going on. So, I mean, I of course would imagine that people are going to have questions because people are people, and what can we feel? Oh, no, that's something else. But, that's going to be a question. So it's like, how did we not deem that it was seasonal before? I don't know. Something to think about. So let's talk about this real quick. Are you in a state that has move over law? Do you know what a move over law is? It is when you see an emergency vehicle on the side of the road helping out someone, you are to move over, and also potentially a towing company at the same time for most cases. So let's talk about this. Crash in Pleasant Grove prompts warning to slow down and move over. Pleasant Grove, Utah, the first responders are telling drivers not to pay more attention when cars, emergency vehicles are pulled over on the side of the highway. Yes, you did hear it's what I said. The warning comes after a scary multi-vehicle crash on I-15 in Pleasant Grove over the weekend.
It was more of a chain reaction of events that happened that
put several lives at danger and could have killed any one of us.
Pleasant Grove Fire Captain Kyle Hardy says the responders were working on a single-car crash in snowy conditions on Sunday morning as vehicles continued driving by at full speed. More vehicles wound up crashing as they failed to yield for the emergency vehicles and cones that were set on to divert traffic. With more snow on the way, Hardy urges that the Utonians obey the state move over law, which calls for drivers to slow down and move over at least one lanes for vehicles that are stopped along the side of the road. Hardy says that his fellow first responders don't want to be targets when they respond to emergencies.
There's nothing that can ever prepare you for a car that's barreling at you at 70 miles an hour, slamming into the vehicle of people that you're trying to help.
So there you go. Move over law should be something that's discussed if it's not being discussed already, because apparently it is super important. In just kind of the way that it works, at least in the state that I'm located in, if you can't move over, you're supposed to lower your speed by 25 miles per hour. Not to be confused with to slow down to 25 miles per hour. It's to slow down by 25 miles per hour. Anyways, it is 31 minutes past the top of the hour. I got a doozy for you today. I got a doozy, so let's talk about this. I think it might be time to go into what we deem our main story.
Here is our main story on the Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, so I will tell you, I like to pull stuff from time to time, but this was one sent in by Mr. Jim Polzel from good old Safety Wars that can be heard here on Safety FM. The podcast version, of course, you can go to the podcast network, take a listen to Safety Wars. So Mr. Posel sent me this one. So take a listen. An Amazon employee apparently became trapped by a robot that shelves when he was working on the warehouse floor. The employee was shared the experience with TikTok users. I won't give the username, but the video has gained over 1 million views as I checked this morning. So the robots at work trapped me. It took like 15 minutes to get out, according to the TikToker wrote on a text overlay. The video shows him walking around the warehouse as shelves get moved in within his path. I do have some audio excerpts of the thing because I don't think I can get away with actually showing you the video, because you know how this goes around here. If I show the vid, I can get in trouble, and I don't like getting in trouble, especially if I can avoid it, because that's just not what I do. So take a listen to some of this because you're going to hear some of the sounds. We'll talk about it.
Sometimes this will happen. I got one pot here. I can't get out. And then I got another pot. Oh, he just left.
So the guy showing on the screen just what's going on, where he's trapped. And if you can envision these things, if you are listening on the radio, of course, the way that it works is, imagine if you had like a shelving system that could actually move with a robot directly under it. And they're probably stacked, and if I'm going to take a guesstimate here, probably about 6 feet tall is what I'm going to guess.
Yeah, I was the first one to go on break.
He tried to block me in.
And so he's claiming that he's blocked in regards of these things, as he is looking around. And there is like, inside of these shelves, probably, they look like they might be made out of plastic. And there's probably about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, probably about like 10 crannies inside of there and they look like they're shrunk wrap at the same time. You know, that's shrink wrap, but you wrap it around, so that would be shrunk wrap. You know what I'm saying?
Can you take my QB notes real quick?
Hold on.
So the dude looks like he's trapped, and then he ends up going into the area where they're charged, and some areas on getting around. It continues into the article where it says the robots are trapped me for about 15 minutes, according to the TikToker wrote on there. And then he said that they try to block him in. These pods are messing with me, he says in the video. As described in the video, the yellow plastic robots created a maze, making it hard for the worker to get through the floor, work between the stations. The video gained over 1,000 comments, with many viewers commenting that the employee was on the floor in the first place. However, how it assured them the user is allowed to be in there. Other viewers had taken aback about the Amazon robots, with one calling them a true horror movie. And another worrying that the amount of pods sounds like a fire hazard. Others, however, began making jokes about the comments inside of the section. 5 nights at Amazon roads, one user, bro, it's sick and to try wizard in that area. Comparisons the situation of the movie Harry Potter. Another user reminded them about the dystopian franchise, The Maze Runner. Amazon did not immediately return any kind of request in regards of comments for the article itself. But here's the thing, because we have to talk about it, because the way that it appears, and there are going to have to be some assumptions made inside of this, is that this would probably be an area that workers should probably not be in based on how it looks and how everything is laid out. So, of course, the question has to come about of what safeguards are in place for when workers do show up into the area. I mean, I think that that's going to be a logical question. So if there are safeguards in place and there are safeguards that should be there, where are they? Because here's the thing. Don't get me wrong. Automation is a good idea, but people are not robots. So there needs to be a safeguard inside of that area where you would know automatically if there is a human in that area. Because here's the fun part, or the interesting part, as we can talk about this. If a robot is coming your general direction at full force, depending on the sensory on how everything works, it is not going to know, for the most part, unless the system has something set up, that you are a human. I don't think it will have intent. I mean, an intent of actually hurting someone, injuring someone, or even killing someone. So we have to be able to interact as humans and machines. So with that being said, what safeguards should be in place? Now, of course, we could sit back and go, shoulda, coulda, woulda, and all that kind of fun stuff. And I can only imagine how terrifying this had to be as an employee going through this. I mean, of course, a lot of things come to mind on, well, you could have done this and you could have done that and all blah, 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 blah. Retrospect. 10,000 things could have been done after it happened because this is how I would have thought about it and this is how I would have done it, which I think becomes a lot of problems when people start talking about issues and errors and all that fun stuff. But as you and I are talking, what other things could have been put inside of the system? I mean, could you have done something with thermal dynamics there where all of a sudden any kind of thermal temperatures could have been taken that it could recognize that there's a human in the area and stop production? Because I'm going to tell you right away that if you are stopping production, if you are stopping the actual logistics inside of the warehouse of something being loaded into a vehicle or moving from one section of the warehouse to another, people are going to pay a lot of attention right away because all of a sudden it has become a, we'll say, quote unquote, a stop work. So if the work comes to a stop, people are going to be, we need to do something to get it to move. So what's your thoughts on this? Anyways, if you get kind of interested, you can go down and take a look at it. Take a look at good old TikTok, if that's where you like to hang out, and see the video that's out there in regards to this. I'd like to thank Jim Polzer from Safety Wars for sending this in for us to have a brief discussion on this. But the other portion to think about on the other side is, what safeguards would you put in place if you have an area that's similar to this? Because I am sure currently you have a job or a workplace inside of, or an area inside of your workplace where you know where potentially the next issue could occur. And I am sure you already have some ideas on what could be done to correct them. Think about that for a moment.
Oops! What did he just say?
We at Safety FM don't always agree with viewpoints of our hosts and guests.
Now back to real safety talk on Safety FM.
Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to the home of real safety talk.
You are listening to Safety FM. We'll be right back.
It's always amazing to me on how technology changes, and so does the environment that we're in. And cyber criminals will do everything they can to take advantage of a system. If you don't own a home, you have nothing to fear about what I'm about to tell you. But if you own a home like me and you don't guard it with home title lock, you're inviting home title fraud. One of the fastest growing crimes. Cyber thieves around the world know our home values are sky high at the moment, and that makes us a target. The crime is scary simple. Let me explain it to you real quick. A cyber thief simply forges your name on a property sale form and refiles it. That's it. Now he or she is on the deed of your home and you have no idea that you're a victim. Then the person takes out a loan on your home and vanishes, leaving you to prove to the police that you didn't commit bank fraud. Home Title Locks puts a virtual barrier around your home title. The instant they detect any kind of tampering or anybody messing around, they help shut it down. Look, if you have equity in your home, you need to guard it the best way that you can. Some people might even go as far as guarding it with their life. Go to HometitleLock.com and register your address to see if you already are a victim. And enter the code RADIO. That's RADIO. That's the code RADIO for 30 days free of protection. That's code RADIO at HometitleLock.com.
You are listening to something magical. You're listening to the Rated R Safety Show.
Your friend get a different face and posting on their feed. They're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do.
Know someone being bullied online? You can be a witness and make a difference by letting the world know it isn't cool and by letting your friend know you care. Learn more at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Keyboard Cat, Hamilton the Pug, and Toast Meets World. These are some of the internet's most beloved pets. And they all have one thing in common. Their stories started in a shelter. Start your story. Adopt a dog or cat today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Training that pet to play the keyboard, that's optional. Start a story. Adopt a shelter or rescue pet today. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Allison is perfect. I mean, she'd never tell you that. She's humble and perfect. She likes everyone. She even likes her untidy roommate's weird guinea pig. Allison, wait, are you texting and driving? Allison, no. That's the exact opposite of what I was just saying about you. Why, Allison? Why? Texting and driving makes good people look bad. Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
We are live outside the home of Joe and Rosie Goddard, where a pretty big tickle fight broke out just minutes ago. Sources say their father instigated the laughter. Let's go inside for a comment. Apparently, they have no comment. Dads, let this be a reminder that it only takes a moment to make a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
But first I stretch, tell them run it off. I wake up, flex, thumb down, now check. No drip, this wet, tell them run it off. No sleep, no rest, might crash, might wreck. But first I stretch, tell them run it off. Y'all gon' make me take that trip way out to Europe.
42 minutes past. As I say it, 43 occurs.
One false move, find yourself there getting buried.
So, you are listening to the Rated R Safety Show.
Gangs made some bad decisions that brought my mama pain.
So, let's get into it. This song is Run It Up by Nick. This song's readily available on Spotify and iTunes. It's called Run It Up. Thanks to Nick for allowing us to play this here on the Rated R Safety Show. Anyways, let's get moving and grooving as we are talking this morning, hanging out, doing the things that you and I get to do together. So let's start talking. By the way, phone lines open, callinradio.com. I always think it's interesting that I say phone lines open, but I get more messages on there than phone calls and video calls, and I get it. I don't blame you. I would do the exact same thing, me being on the other side, depending on what the hell I have going on. The ones that I always find interesting is the ones that I get post-show. So that just means that people are listening after the show occurs, which means you're more than likely hanging on the pod. So sorry about that I can't really interact with you when you're listening to the pod and it's after the show. But I'm sure you get all that. Anyway, so let's start talking about some other things. I'm going to tell you about the most important thing that I will ever tell you. So let's talk about it. Let me tell you about my friends at the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Whether you have struggled with suicide yourself or have lost a loved one, know that you're not alone. Hear about personal experience from people in your local communities whose lives have been impacted by suicide and depression. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to afsp.org. That is afsp.org, or call 1-800-273-8255. That's 1-800-273-8255, or text the word TALK to 741-741. So there you go, all the information right there. You never know when you might need the information. You know this, I know this. You might even be able to have the opportunity to share this with someone else. If you don't think it needs to apply to you, you can always get all kinds of resources and information about things that you can help with other people. And keep in mind that there are real stories that are there and things along those lines. And also they do all kinds of interesting community events where they do walkathons, they do local chapter memberships, and all kinds of interesting stuff to help share the message. AFSP.org, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Anyways, let's continue talking about everything else that is going on inside of this lovely, lovely, lovely world of ours. So let's start talking about it. I couldn't agree more. Scientists say that after being agreeable may be the main key to success in life. The University of Arkansas researchers carried out a study on how personality affects job performance, focusing especially on being agreeable. They found that being agreeable offers a desirable effect on hundreds of physical and psychological and occupational metrics, impacting both careers and overall life success. Among the important findings of the study was that people who had high levels of being agreeable had a 93% success rate of psychological health, physical health and personal relationships, leadership effectiveness, and performance in both educational and organizational environments. The team concluded that being agreeable is a personality trait that's primarily concerned with helping people and building positive relationships, which is not lost on organizational leaders. Go ahead and argue with that. I dare you. You get it? I get it. Except in politics, where generally it is less agreeable that you are, the more successful you become. And then happily, this gives me hope that my miserable rich neighbor probably isn't successful as he seems. So there you go, some things to think about. It's such a terrible way to end that thing. I just want to throw that out there. So I don't know. Maybe agree more. But should you agree more with things that you don't agree with, it would probably be the other thing, because I will be very unsuccessful at that. I just can't, for some reason, can't shut my mouth when I don't agree with something. It's kind of the way that it goes. Anyways, I'm hinging on your bets, maybe just the possibility, but we know exactly what Stonehenge is all about, according to an archaeologist. The imposing of the monument dominating in the plain southwest of England were constructed by ancient timekeeping system. The central axis and megalism constructed the estimated 5,000 years ago and still is aligned with the sunrise in midsummer and sunset in midwinter. The stones are perfectly framed in the rising, settling sun when days are the longest and the shortest. It has been a long thought that the monument was used for ceremonial purposes rather than an accurate way to accurate way to track the days, months, and seasons. But Timothy Darville, a professor of archaeology at the UK's Bournemouth University, conducted a study and concluded that the Stonehenge served as a solar calendar, and it's a pretty complex explanation, but suffice to say that the guy knows what he's talking about. He says that Stonehenge is a place where the timing of ceremonies and festivals was connected to the very fabric of the universe and celestial movements in the heavens. I don't know what the idea of ancient civilization would have the smarts, but we know how the ability to build the time and keeping like that. So if my wife lived back then, she'd still be late. I mean, some way to actually talk about that. So there you go. Anyways, let's talk about some other things that are going on inside of here, because that's always important to do so. So it is 49 minutes past the top of the hour. I think it is time to bring in some Johnny Smalls once again and let him give you the Motivation Minute.
The Motivation Minute is courtesy of InsuranceChicken.com. Today, we have a tribute to quotes from the unknown. Here's a few anonymous quotes. Once you carry your own water, you'll learn the value of every drop. I like that one. Here's another. Life becomes lighter when we focus on reality and pre-sentiments rather than abstract ideas and interpretations. That's a smart-sounding quote, but I think these two go together. If you're the one paying the light bill, you seem to be in the dark a little more, but in a good way. And if you're overthinking and pondering the what-ifs too much, the reality may never happen. So plan things for sure, but remember to do them as well. Don't just plan. This has been today's Motivation Minute, courtesy of InsuranceChicken.com. They're known for insurance quotes. I'm John Small. Thanks for listening. Your favorite motivational quotes can be submitted for upcoming programs at motivationminute.org.
Your Wellness Minute is brought to you by ALessaMorgan.com. Bone broth fast. We previously discussed numerous benefits of fasting, from balancing insulin to autophagy. And in this sense, bone broth fast is not a traditional fast. However, it still offers substantial benefits. Bone broth can be very helpful if you decide to give your body a break after a cheat meal or a cheat day. Now, it's crucial not to use fasting as a way to punish yourself after a cheat meal. But if you're looking to help your body in a gentle way after eating too many processed foods and carbs, bone broth fast can be a solution for blood sugar, balancing insulin, metabolism, and bodily functions without the side effects of hunger or fasting headaches. Additionally, bone broth helps with gut repair and balancing gut mucosal layer, which helps with gut sensitivity and optimization once the fast is over. For additional information, check out AlessaMorgan.com.
You are listening to a radio god. What? This has to be an error. That host is not a radio god. Anyways, this is the Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Okay, there you go. Some fun stuff always going on and around and all that kind of fun stuff. 51 minutes past the top of the hour. So at the top of the hour, I will be going over to radiobig.fm exclusively if you want to come hang out and do the things that we do over there by attacking some music and doing some other stuff as we are talking. Anyways, we did talk about this earlier, but let's talk about it again. Gas prices break the record after soaring to $4.17. No relief in sight at the pump. Listen to what Sam Brock has to say.
Just for some context, in the last 50 years, we've seen jump in oil prices like this 4 times, and in each instance, there's been a recession, except we have never as a country seen a 1-week rate increase like what we have just experienced.
Okay, drivers today are paying the highest gas prices ever, breaking the record set back in 2008. 888 puts the nationwide average to $4.17. That's up 10 cents from yesterday and 55 cents from 55 cents more than last week. Experts blame the fast pace of rising prices on Russia invasion of the Ukraine. It's going to get interesting. I think that's going to be part of the conversation that we have. What else do we have over here? Virginia lawmakers say that gun violence could start a war in Richmond. A volatile statement by lawmakers said that Richmond could be at war because of gun violence. Kathy White has more information.
A Richmond lawmaker predicts the city will be in a war this summer. Councilmember Reva Trammell said yesterday gun violence currently focused on the south side will spread throughout the city. She also says the city doesn't have enough police officers, and those the city does have are crucified for doing their jobs. Trammell tells CBS 6 she hopes the governor, attorney general, and lieutenant governor will look at this and other problems in the city. I'm Kathy White.
Okay, thank you, Kathy, for that one. As we are talking, let's get into some more news here as we are talking and moving and all of that stuff. So here you go. Let's talk about this that is going on today, if you want to know this. So if you're looking real quick on things that happened, well, do we want to talk about things that happened? Yeah, let's talk about things that happened back in 2020. The U.S. records of 521 cases of COVID, 21 death scores across 33 states were also documented. That happened back on this date in 2020. If If you're looking for some birthdays for today, I got some of those as well for you. Stephanie Davis turns 29. Benny Blanco, 34. Chad Gable, 36. Kat Von D, 40. Nick Zano, 44. James Vanderbeek, yeah, from that guy, 45. Freddie Prinze Jr., 46. Boris Kodjoe, 49. Kenny Smith, 57. And Lester Holt, yes, that Lester Holt, he turned 63 today. So there you go. What else do we have? What else do we have for you? Let's talk about some days of the year that you can celebrate if you're so inclined to do so. It is National Proofreading Day, which we don't do around here apparently. National Peanut Cluster Day, National Oregon Day, and International Women Day. So there you go. There you go. That's some things that are going on this side as we are talking. What else do we have for you? Let's talk about Did You Know? Remember Freedom Fries? Now a Canadian diner has temporarily renamed the dish to show support for the Ukraine after Russia's invasion. Poutine is a popular Canadian specialty of French fries and cheese curds topped with brown gravy. When said out loud, it sounds like Putin, a Russian president by name. So Leroy Joseph, a restaurant in Drumville, Quebec, which claims that it invented poutine, wrote on Facebook that it's changing the name to Le Frit Fromage Sauce, the fries with cheese gravy. The post also revealed that it revised the logo sporting Ukraine blue and yellow. Man, could you not make it something a little bit more simple? Like, can I get the cheese and gravy on the fries? I mean, I don't know. Something to think about as we are talking for sure. What else do we have? So let me give you some whack facts real quick. The bird on the Twitter logo is named Larry. It was named after the NBA player, Larry Bird. Laughter synchronizes the brains of both the speaker and the listener so that they can become emotionally attuned. Eating garlic improves your body odor, except your breath. About 3 pounds of your body weight is bacteria and parasites. Enjoy that one. The tallest volcano on Mars is 17 miles, 84 times taller than the Eiffel Tower. Russian President Vladimir Putin once tried to sue Harry Potter filmmaker because he believed that the bald, floppy-eared, pointy-nosed, bug-eyed character Dobby, the house elf, was based on him. No kidding. That's not a joke. You can really look that up. It is a thing. I'm not making that up as we speak. I don't know if I should show you some pictures of it because, well, there is some resemblance if you go looking for it. Well, that's a question for another day.
Oops! What did he just say?
We at Safety FM don't always agree with the viewpoints of our hosts and guests.
Now back to real safety talk on Safety FM.
Okay, so here you go. If you need a random joke for the day, I got one for you. Misers are no fun in life, but they make great ancestors. If you need a phone starter for today, try this one. What website or app doesn't exist, but you really wish that did? And if you could send me that idea via email, I would really like that to see what we can come up with. And then if you need something for the water cooler, try this one. Question. A survey found that one thing forgotten by adults is where they put their keys. What is number 2? Come on, you know this one. You really do. It's what did they go to the grocery store for? That is the most common thing that most people forget. Anyways, thank you for taking a listen to what we have going on here today on Safety FM and Radio Big. I'm going to tell you, without you, we can't do what we do around here. So this is why I always tell you that this is your show, because we have always tried to adapt what is going on this show for what you want. I'm going to say we started off originally as a rant show, moved forward into talking more about the things around safety that were making people upset. And then we kind of expanded into the world of news because people said, because it happened so early, could we get some news in real time? We have brought in some newscasters across the board for that sake alone. That is why when we get breaking news, we try to give it to you as it is occurring in real time across the board. Before, it was just one segment when the news was coming in. Now we do it all across because that's what you were requesting. So that's why we have it that way. A lot of people get confused on, you don't talk the whole show about safety. No shit, Sherlock. You got it. That's the reason, because that was what the request of the majority of the audience wanted. Anyways, thank you for taking a listen. If I can't leave you with a thought for today, I would love to leave you with this one. There are two ways of spreading light: to be the candle or the mirror that reflects it. Think about that. Anyways, I know who you are. You know who I am. Love you, mean it, and goodbye.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.